Hello and welcome to Brockley News Extra, the programme where you get another chance to catch up on recent interviews, including updates from in and around the hospital, local charities and special guests. I'm Alan Joyce, and coming up on today's programme, we take an extended tour of the brand new RNOH buildings, which are due to be opened later this year. We'll be getting an exclusive insight from project manager Richard Scott, who'll be giving us an insight as to how the new hospital is going to look and the exciting features that patients here will look forward to in the near future. Don't forget, Radio Brockley is with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So stay tuned to London's longest running hospital radio station and the UK's official #1 hospital radio. It's Radio Brockley. So this is a story we've been following closely over the last couple of years as the new hospital buildings get ever closer to completion. Now, if you want to listen back to some of the various stages of construction, you can check out our previous interviews on our YouTube channel. So let's once again join our reporter who's about to get his walking boots on again. It's Keith Reeve.
Well, this is my third site visit to the new RNOH patient ward block. My first was in May 2017. That was followed up in November 2017. And 7 months later, June 2018, we're about 4 months away from it opening. And I'm with Richard Scott, who's kindly given me yet more of his time as the... What is your current role, Richard?
I'm the construction project manager. My job is to make sure it's built on time and to the budget.
Right, thanks very much, Richard, and thank you very much for your time, as I said, once again. Now, uniquely this time, I'm standing at the back of the building. This was a view I couldn't have had before because for quite a lot of the last 18 months, there's been a big crane above my head, just about where I'm standing. That's long gone, 6 months or so. And now the back of the building is virtually finished from the outside, from what I can tell, and I'm standing in what's going to be the garden for the new children's ward here at the RNOH. And there's not a lot to see here at the moment, Richard.
No, the first thing that's going to happen is we have to put a secure fence around the back here, and then towards the end of July, early August, the vegetation and the basketball rings and the benches will appear.
Oh, right, basketball, that sounds a bit energetic. So I'm looking at the bridge, which I think was going in when I last saw you in November, and is now linking straight into what I assume is the children's ward section of the building.
Absolutely, it's nearly finished. At the end there'll be a fancy surface on the top, but it just links the children's ward with the garden and nothing else.
And I would say just the reason there needs to be a bridge is there's a big moat there that actually sort of goes down quite a considerable distance, and we wouldn't want anybody falling into that. So I'm booted up with my hard boots, my hard hat, my gloves, my protective glasses. So I'm ready to go inside with Richard. So we're just walking across the bridge as it stands at the moment, which is plenty wide enough. I think I commented on that in one of my earlier visits here, that it's going to be very wide, needs to be, to get people on and off and out of the building and onto the garden safely. Right, we're into the ward. Now this looks very, very different to when I saw it 7 months ago in November. There's still the noises of activities going on, which is good to see. But I'm guessing what's standing behind you there, Richard, is one of the nursing stations.
Yeah, on this floor and on the fourth floor there are four stations, and the adult wards in between only have 3. This one's not there, but this one's there basically to look out into the garden and control people over the bridge.
Right.
So let's walk this way.
Yeah.
Because basically this floor's finished.
Right. Okay.
And this is a finished single bedroom.
Right.
So if we go inside and have a look at that.
Okay, so I'm walking into this room, which, as Richard said, is virtually finished. As I walk in, the lights in the bathroom have come on. It obviously sensed my movement. And I'm looking at the wall with a lovely mural, which looks sort of familiar. Is that also present at Bolsover Street?
The basic design is, yes. So this a plastic sheet on the wall with this pattern on. And what it means is that the wall can take a lot of buffering with a bed or what have you, and that wall can never be damaged. And each floor's got one, but each floor's got a different colour and a different pattern on it. Then most of the other floors are actually daffodils or blue or flowers of various descriptions.
Okay, lovely. And fitted onto that unit is a nice overhead light and also all the connections and sockets for all the various gases and other medical aids. There's a basin in the corner with an overhead cupboard, and as I say, there's also a connected ensuite bathroom, if you like, with all the necessary aids that you would need in here. So we're just wandering in. And so it's more of a wet room, this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got a wet shower, so you get a wheelchair into the corner and have a shower. It's completely accessible, which is a good idea. And it's got all the DDA, all the DDA. Yeah. If you're disabled, you have to have certain sort of things to hang on to move around, and they're all installed. And you'll notice that the washhand basins is 700 millimetres high. It's at a height for the kids in here and also for people in wheelchairs.
Okay, great. Everything's well thought out, lots of space. And you say this is a single room, and there seems to be loads and loads of room in here.
This room is almost exactly the size that the NHS want these days. So it's not excessively big, it's the norm virtually.
Oh, right, okay. So that's good, because obviously sometimes people think, oh, the wards are really crammed and crowded, but this is anything but. And it's going to have a lovely view out onto the gardens when they're complete as well, because as I look through the window, I can actually see the side of the Aspire Centre, or the back of the Aspire Centre if you actually come in the main entrance. So that's going to be a nice view once the gardens are up and running.
It will be, as you say, the view from here, all those site huts, there'll be little trees and bushes there, so it'll be like looking into the countryside.
Lovely. So this is, how many beds on this particular children's ward?
There's about 30 beds per floor going up the building, so in total there's 128 or thereabouts. So basically all the floors, I said the bedrooms are all the same going up the building. The rooms in the middle, the core, are slightly different depending on what the ward manager wants, but the bedrooms are almost virtually the same all the way up the building.
Okay, great. And I'm remembering the actual artist's film that they made of the building, what it would look like from the inside. And I remember coming in November, the curved shape of the building was very, very obvious then for the first time. And now all the walls, ceilings are virtually complete panelling-wise. There's a few gaps here and there where I guess they're still checking and testing things. Commissioning, thank you very much. And so we've now walked into a large sort of junction of those paths. And there's a wheelie bin there, Richard. Is that of any significance?
No, not at the moment. Just collecting rubbish.
I see.
Because we've got to keep the place, because this floor's virtually finished, we've got to keep it spotless, so we have wheelie bins all over the place. We've got another nurse station here, and you'll see all that little computer screens on it.
Yep.
And that then the nurse call. So everything here is computerised. So there's lots of buttons to be pushed or what have you around the beds, and you push a button. It notifies all the nurses here and at the other end and other places of what's going on and what's required.
Looks like a fire control panel there as well. So it's all systems go, isn't it, really? It's pretty much there. And I'm walking past another ward room which has got the murals on, well, every one I can see has got these murals on the wall, which is lovely. So anything significant going on in there? Oh, I can see the built-in hoist in that room.
Yeah. There's hoists on every room on the first floor. On the single rooms which we're looking at now, that's to get the patient into the shower area, and the bigger rooms, which we'll look at in a minute, is just to get them onto an area where they can be put into a trolley to move around.
Right.
But this is actually an isolation room.
Right. Okay. So is there anything significantly different with this compared to another room?
Yeah, you have a lobby, an extra room on the left-hand side, which has got negative pressure in it, and so if there's a patient there with something that needs isolating, the pressures of the rooms and the rooms around it are adjusted so that the germ, as it were, stays within the area and doesn't get into the corridor.
Wow, that's very high-tech, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all run by computer, and it's quite common these days. But for the hospital here, it's high-tech.
Absolutely, yeah, because this is a quantum leap forward for the RNOH at long last, I'm pleased to say. And for those of us that have been around this hospital for many years, myself about 50 of those years, it is a massive step forward. Now, we've just walked into what looks like a 4-bed bay, when Richard's confirmed that with a finger count, thank you. And and this is still quite a large area. It's difficult to visualise, I suppose, when you haven't actually got beds and people and other paraphernalia in it, but still a lovely view out.
It is, and again, this room is it might look big, but it's the area required by the NHS these days. And again, you've got two big windows at the end, which they're big windows, bits of glass, so people can see out and see what's happening in the outside world.
Lovely, and the view they will get from here is actually looking across to the Radio Brockley studio, which is about 50 yards away as I stand here. So we'll be able to wave at our listeners for the first time, I think, in our 52-year history, which will be fantastic. So, and we're looking down on the corner of what used to be the road up to Outpatients, which closed just recently, just opposite the estates compound, and there's work going on out there which looks like it's preparing the entrance to this building. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a little roundabouts going in, and so you can actually go into the road round the corner where you can't see. There's a drop-off point, and then you can drive out again. And the services, all sorts of different services are going in, different colours, different shapes, different patterns, and that'll due to be finished in about 4.5 weeks.
Right, so there'll be a roundabout there, will there?
Well, egg-about more than a roundabout.
I see, egg-about. Okay, right, so it's obviously not round, it's egg-shaped. So, okay, and this is still the first floor. This is still the children's wards. And as I say, these murals are very evident. Each one, although it's on the same theme, is a sort of different section of the big mural. So they're all slightly different on each bed, which is nice and a good touch. And very light and airy in here as well. So we're just going towards disabled bathroom, by the looks of it.
4 beds have 2 loos. So there's this room here, there's a toilet and a wash-hand basin. And then they have, as per the single room, toilet, wash-hand basin and a wet room shower.
Right, so there's plenty of facilities and very little need to share a bathroom when you've got that many facilities amongst the number of people. So it's lovely, isn't it? It looks absolutely spotless, and well, it should be. It's brand new, and there's a hoist and also obviously bed rails already in situ to move people around. Now Richard's just folding something out the wall here, which is a bed. Now I can't believe that's the patient's bed. It's next to the patient, so I'm guessing this is for parents.
It is, or for a carer, whoever stays overnight. There's a bed hidden away in the cupboards that they can stay on, sleep on.
Absolutely brilliant. That's lovely, and it folds out with ease. It's just strapped on with 3 straps and a nice comfy mattress on there. So that's wonderful for the children who need to have their carer or parent close by at all times. They will literally be able to sleep next to them in the same ward, in the same room. So that's absolutely fabulous. There's also lockable safes, I see. I assume for medication, is that?
Yeah, for controlled drugs and medication.
Right, okay, so there's obviously reduces the risk of it getting mixed up, and I guess the days of the old trolley round doing the drugs is long gone in that respect. So we're just carrying on walking down to, looks like the end of the building, another interchange of corridors.
They're testing the fire shutters. The fire shutters come down.
Yep.
That's why you can't see the entrance hall. So we're going to walk round the side through the school, and then we can stand in the entrance hall lobby and see the main staircase.
Wonderful. So the RNOH school is going to continue, is it? It's going to still be based here?
It is indeed, and we'll walk through it, and I'll explain it as we walk through.
Okay, so we're just stepping over a few bits of channeling left on the floor there, and we're just walking through another room, not sure what that one was for, and we're into...
The teacher's room.
The teacher's room. So this is where the teacher's going to sit. This is their office, is
That's it? So they sit in here, and the window's there, so they can see what the kids are doing in the school area.
So the room next door, which is quite large, is the classroom, and it's got a little sink and kitchenette in the unit, lots of cupboard storage, a hand basin, power and network sockets on the wall, and it looks like a store cupboard as well. So that's great, having a room like that right on the ward. What have we got here?
And we're now into another room associated with the school, and so they're separated by a sliding lockable door, and depending whether the kids are eating or whether they're at school or not, the door's open and closed. The kitchen unit's there because the school teach kids how to cook a lot, and so we've put in these kitchen facilities.
Wonderful. Well, they could teach me, actually, because I'm absolutely useless at cooking. Right, so we're coming out of the school area, back into the corridor. This is, I think, where we came in earlier on. Yes, it is. It's the
walkway out onto the gardens, and we're going back through to the front of the building, as most people will see it, to the stairway. Now, when I was here in November, I think the various parts or components of the stairs had been lifted into place, but I don't think it was all joined up, and I certainly don't think it was usable. But it looks very much like it might be now, Richard.
Yeah, the staircase is used all the time now, and they're just doing the final decorations and putting the final bits of wood on it to make it look pretty. And the same for the whole of the atrium. It's basically constructed. The one thing that's obviously missing is all the glass panels. We shall come in probably about 3 or 4 weeks to go to make sure they don't get broken or scratched or damaged, and then it'll be complete.
Right, that makes sense. So we're looking down onto what will now be the new entrance to this ward facility, and we've got obviously various builders' stuff and cupboards and things in that area waiting to be taken to their final location. So it looks very impressive now, this staircase, and it still looks like it's hanging in mid-air. So how do they achieve that?
Basically, each bit of staircase consists of 2 parts. One part connects to the floor upstairs and one part to the floor below. So it forms like a little triangle, and therefore it can't move.
Right, okay. So very, very good. So it looks brilliant, actually, because it looks really airy out here. And lots of space as well, which is lovely. And you've got all the glass panels on now, which can't remember if they were there before or not back in November, but all the glass is in, and it looks fantastic. And lovely wooden ceilings as well, right up the top there. A lovely wooden ceiling to finish it all off. So it looks fabulous. And once it's all finished, well, it's clearly going to look even better.
Yep, it's very. But on this side, between the staircase and the shopfront glass, goes a reception desk.
Right.
And underneath, we're on the first floor now, underneath us is going to be there are 2 little retail units.
Yep.
Which is going to be a coffee shop. I think it's going to be a Costa coffee, but I'm not entirely sure. Mm-hmm. And on the right-hand side of the ground floor over there, underneath that bit of the first floor, is where the children's activity centre is going to be. Which basically, it's a internal, sophisticated playground for the kids.
Right. Okay. That sounds good and looks good. There's lots of activity going on down there, so it's going to be a very welcoming environment. It's lovely to be able to walk into our hospital and be able to buy a cup of coffee. And if you've got small people, you can perhaps leave them there or get them to let off some steam before they go and see whoever they come to visit, if they're visiting, or before they actually need to go to the ward for their appointment and what have you. So yeah, looks fantastic. So this area behind us is just going to be open like this, is it? This is the first floor, kind of overlooking the stairs. Is there anything going to be here?
And each floor has got what we're standing in. So on the first floor one, think of it as a balcony, and there's one. Each floor's got one, and there are open areas with books or sofas, coffee machines, water machines, what have you. And it's where people who are visiting, who can't go in the room, can sit down and read a magazine and wait. So it's a sort of, think of it as a lounge area.
Okay, great, that's good. So it's a nice social area as well, I'm guessing, which is something this hospital does lack a little bit of. So if they've got one of these on each floor, that is a big step in the right direction, which is probably going to be very welcome, I would have thought. Okay, where are we going now?
Well, this is each floor has got a reception desk.
Yep.
Which we're standing in front of.
Yep.
And it overlooks the staircase and the lifts coming up from the ground floor. And where that chap is there, you'll see there's a stainless steel sliding door.
Yep.
That's locked full time. So the only way to get through it is either to have the correct swipe card, or there's an audio visual, and you push the button and the people behind this desk can let you in.
Right.
And that's the same in all the floors up the building.
Right, so nice security as well to make people feel reassured and safe, which is, of course, sadly these days very important when you are in hospital. Okay, so how many lifts have we got? I'm seeing one from where I'm standing. There's 2 actually, I think.
That's right.
Just remind us how many lifts we've got in this building, Richard.
In the middle where we are, in the atrium area, the front door, there are 2 visitors' lifts, which are basically 2 standard office lifts like everyone's seen before. And then at one end of the building we have 3 lifts, and the other end 2 lifts. And these are big lifts that will take a hospital bed, and then also fire lifts to move people floor to floor if it's necessary. Although it's very unlikely to be necessary, but you have to put these provisions in.
Absolutely, got to make sure that if in the event of an emergency you can get people out. That's probably one of the most important things, I would have thought. So, okay, so each ward is going to have a reception desk like this,
Yes.
and a secure door as you come off the stairwell or out the lifts, which is great. Now we're just walking back from this social area and entrance into another corridor. All these corridors are now, as I say, fitted out. They've got bumper bars on the side, nice wooden handrails at 2 heights, which is great for people of smaller height or in a wheelchair maybe to pull themselves along, or for taller people, adults maybe, who can reach the higher rail. So that's really good flexibility and trying to obviously cope with everybody's needs. You can hear the rather excellent fire seals on these doors as we go through them. So I'm just going to manoeuvre myself through that one. Whoops, just stood on something there. Not sure what it was, but thankfully I've got my boots on. Right, okay, so we come to another junction of the paths, and we're now heading off towards what I know is the FM's end of the site. This is the facilities management end. I remember that from before.
Yeah, it's down here it's the kitchen,
All right.
laundries, clean linen rooms, the dirty linen rooms, as you say, the FM side of the business.
Right, and so this is the ward kitchen. Looking out through the window, I can see the Aspire Centre once again and the Aspire Brazilian Cafe. Get a plug in for that. So this is the kitchens where I guess the food will be brought up and prepared before it's put on the wards.
Yep, that's where the final preparation, the food's cooked in the main kitchen and brought here, finally prepared before it's sent out onto the ward.
Right, okay. As you can hear, lots of activity going on at this part of the building at the moment, and the acoustics changed just coming out of that building. I think they're waiting to go down in the service lift, these guys. They've got the trolley loaded up with stuff. So we're heading towards the FM site, and it now has got a roof on it, which it didn't have before.
Yeah, you can't see it now, it's all beneath the roof, but basically there's a roof over where the delivery vehicles come in. You can see the exhaust pipes at the top of one of the generators. There's 2 generators that have been up and running today. They've had their practice runs today. And on the left-hand side, you can see the air handling units and chillers and what have you. And they've all been up. They're all running as well.
That's good to know. So have you actually had the opportunity to test all of the services at once yet, or not?
No, they've been tested individually, and the full testing and commissioning will happen. It starts the end of next week, but the hard work is training, because this is all new kit here, and we have to train all the staff to use it 24 hours a day. So training is the hard part, because people have got to understand what's here, and being new kit, you've got to get your head around the new kit before you understand how to use it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, okay, well, it's amazing how much this has come on in 7 months. I suppose you wouldn't expect anything else, but certainly as a frequent visitor to the site, it's been good just to stand in the car park or from a distance and see things progressing, parts of the building becoming more finished, and the crane disappearing back in February, all the scaffolding coming down in the entrance area, and generally finishing touches being placed to the outside, and now the finished touches on the inside as well. So where are we heading for next?
Shall we go up a floor and see what's happening?
Yes, let's do that.
Or do you want to go down and sit in the boiler room?
No, I think I'll go up a floor. That sounds a bit more attractive than sitting in the boiler room, to be honest. So we're going into the stairway at the facilities management end of the site, and up the steps, which are very, very wide. Now, I remember you saying to me here these were wide enough for a mattress evacuation.
Yeah, that's what they're designed for.
So if there was an emergency that the building needed to be evacuated in a hurry, then patients could, worst case scenario, be taken down these stairs on the mattresses from their beds to get them out and to a place of safety. So now we're up a floor, and again, a similar view. Looking from the stairs through into the ward, there's a junction in the ward where you can see the building curving away, which is something that struck me when I saw the artist's impression. And also in November, it was obvious that when I was inside, that was really taking effect. And now it's got panelling and walls and doors. It looks even more finished. So what's going on this ward at the moment, Richard?
This ward's as finished as the one below. And yes, the first floor, second floor and third floor are basically finished, and we're just tidying up some bits and pieces. But you'll notice, because it's an adult ward, it's only got one timber rail at the height. The lower timber rail's gone.
Ah, yes, well spotted. Yes, I wouldn't have noticed that, but absolutely. So this is one of the adult wards. Do we know which one?
I can't remember.
I'll have to look at my list. I did see a list
This morning.
on email, yes, so I'll have to have a look at that. But, normal kind of facilities that we saw on the children's wards, various nursing stations and things. Now we're walking into a single room, and apart from the decor, the main difference is the picture on the wall, as you said, isn't now children playing in a park. It's wildflowers by the looks of it.
It is indeed. This floor colour is green. You'll notice that the doors are pale green.
Yep.
And downstairs they were pale yellow, and the pale green wall here. So this floor is a green floor, and so we have green flowers. And there's 3 or 4 different types of flowers we'll see as we walk through.
Right, and there's the hoist above my head here, which I presume can lift somebody out of their bed and round into the bathroom with minimal effort and hopefully in comfort. So that's a big step in the right direction for the RNOH.
It is. It'll take 42 stone, so it's geared up for all eventualities.
So I should be all right on that then.
Well, 2 of you should be.
Thank you, Richard. So this is, again, as I say, the bathroom's complete. It's got the shower in the corner, so it's like a wet room type shower. So it doesn't actually have a screen or a curtain or anything, which is great. And I'm looking out here, and this ward too will have a view of the garden when it's complete, because I'm looking towards the Aspire Centre and where the children's gardens will be, which will look lovely when they're done. So are they preparing the ground here at the moment, Richard?
Yeah, they've levelled it all out to the level, but it's letting it settle. Because as you all know, when you do your gardening, you pile up some soil, you turn your back, and all of a sudden it flattens itself quickly. And so they've done that to allow it to flatten before they come in and start putting the railings and the curbs and all the bits and pieces in. I'll show you the window. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but each room's got an opening window. Yep. And it only opens 4 inches because a bit of fresh air comes in. Yep. But when you open the window, it turns the air conditioning off.
Ah, yes.
So you don't end up cooling Stanwell.
Excellent. Yes, I do remember you mentioning that, I think, in November. But it's nice to see we're up close to the window frames, which are wooden on the inside, which feels more homely. And I think, are they metal on the outside?
They are indeed. As you say, the wooden makes it feel more homely. The metal on the outside gives it wear and tear. But the two are joined together with a piece of plastic that stops heat coming through. And so this timber on the inside is totally insulated.
Lovely, looks good. So look, that's a lovely view as well. It's going to be a beautiful view, well, as beautiful as you can have when you're in a hospital ward. But it's a massive improvement on a lot of our other views that our patients look out on now. And as a patient in the past myself, I can relate to that. So now we have now Richard's just demonstrating to me the Venetian blinds in the door, which you can close and open by touch of a button. I'm just got to have a go at this. So I've just pressed this little button. It's touch sensitive with my finger. It's closed, and I press the other button, and it's open. I could play with that all day. And are these solar panels?
They are indeed.
Right. So they obviously store up enough power to move it when required.
Yes, it's obviously for someone inside who wants privacy, or the staff need to see the inside the room in the middle of the night. They can open and close them quietly with the push of a button. The warranty is that they can be operated 1 million times before they need replacing. And initially I thought I worked it out to be about 189,000 years, so it's quite safe. But according to those who work on the children's ward, it might be about 2.5 weeks, because the kids won't be able to help themselves but push the buttons.
That's right, I can see that. And what you don't need to do is tell them, and then they won't know to press the buttons. But I suppose children's curiosity will get the better of them. But it's great that they're solar powered, and it's a lovely feature to have, and very modern, dare I say, very advanced. So we're just exiting that room now, and we're walking back into the main body of the ward. And this, as I say, this is an adult ward, so this is another one bed ward, and that's got a slightly different green picture on the back. This is water drops on a little branch of what looks like a climbing tree or wisteria or something. So lovely setting, very, very fit for the rural location that the RNOH is positioned in. And again, a lovely bright aspect, big windows, lots of light, and nice cheerful decor, which makes it feel very homely. Right, so which is pointing me around the other side of the nursing station.
Well, we can see it. We can go and have a look at an adult 4-bed bay.
Right, so here we are walking into one of those. And this has got the variation of pictures. So there's 4 green pictures on here. Again, we've got a fern leaf. We've got looks like snowdrops or something. Could be. I'm not sure what that is. I'm never very good at plant identification. We've got the climbing plant I mentioned just now, and wildflowers of a white variety, looking very attractive there. So very nice.
Yeah, I do like the idea that there's 4 different flowers in a 4-bed bay. It just gives it a bit of variety and stops it looking samey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a nice touch to, keep the artwork there, as we have done in other parts of our hospital over the years, especially Bolsover Street. I know a lot of attention was paid to that by the project manager, Steph Williamson, who was involved very heavily and totally with that project, and also had a hand in this, I think, as well in the early days. So great. So there's actually a hoist on this one. The track's actually
they call them engines.
Engines.
In the trade, they call them engines.
Right. So this is an engine for the hoist, and it's got the strap coming out, which looks a bit like a car seatbelt strap, but it's got a kind of mounting lug at the bottom that I guess fits into some kind of harness.
Yeah, there's 2 types of harnesses depending on the patient, but basically it's a sophisticated nappy, I suppose, is the simplest way to describe it. You hook on, and then the engine, electric motor would drive you around. But here, we're in a 4-bed bay. If you remember, I said they're here to take people off the bed into a space to put them onto a trolley to move them elsewhere.
Right, okay, yeah. So they don't go into the bathrooms, these ones. They just, as you say, allow the patient to be safely moved from the bed to a trolley or wheelchair or whatever, and then back into the bed again as and when required. So, and there's one of those per 4 beds, is there?
No, there's about 8 per floor. So some rooms have them, some rooms don't. But they're easy to unhook and just take them next door. And there really is an insurance policy. It's probably, I'm not a doctor, so I can't stake my hand on heart in it, but probably at a time there's only 2 people on each ward who need it, so they can be moved into the bedroom where these people are.
This is Radio Brockley.
Right, so we're on the 2nd floor, looking across the atrium now, and we're about halfway up, aren't we? We're on the middle of the 5 floors, really. So I'm looking across at the lifts and some bathroom facilities for the public, I'm guessing, on each floor there, and looking down onto the area where the reception desk will be. Now, I'm just looking down there. Where's the actual door? Because I can't see the door into the building.
We're standing on top of it. It's underneath us.
So the entrance is going to be slightly nearer to the car park on the atrium frontage than, shall we say, it would have been if it was nearer the old outpatients road. So it's right round the side almost of the building, which I guess makes pedestrian access from the car park much easier.
Yeah, we're going to put a zebra crossing in, across almost opposite, which will make getting across the road is simple. And we're also going to put a zebra crossing in up to where's the car park entrance is, so that people can walk across that zebra crossing and walk straight up past the spire to the outpatients department.
Right, which has obviously got a new access road now and is in use, and the old road is being closed because I think there's going to be a link corridor built from this building to the rest of the hospital.
2 link corridors. One goes from the 1st floor and will go into theatres, and one from the 2nd floor will go into the outpatients department corridor, which most of the time will be used for people going for scanning and x-ray. We started the groundworks, the foundations, which will need to be completed in about 5 to 6 weeks, and the actual tunnels themselves are being made in Dorset, and they are very similar to the ones you get at Gatwick Airport when you get on the plane. So if you think of those, a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
They're made of steel, made in Dorset. They come up on the Saturday morning on a lorry, and we we think 2 Sundays we can get them all in. So it'll be a shock to the hospital because there'll be nothing there on the Friday, and these things will be in on Monday when they come back to work.
Right, instant corridors, just add water. So, okay, and when's that due to take place?
Those corridors will be going in the end of August.
So that's the end of August 2018, 2 months before the hospital ward block is due to open at the end of October 2018. Okay, well this is great, thank you. And this I used the term cladding, it's probably not the right term, the wooden sides on the stairwells, is that how they're going to be finished?
It is timber, and it is how they're going to be finished. It's all fireproof timber, and they've got special paints on them to make it last longer. But that's the basic finish, yeah.
Okay, lovely. Okay, so where to now?
We can go into the boiler room.
Let's do that then. You're dying to show me the boiler room. I know.
And the computer room.
And the computer. Oh, that sounds a bit more my cup of tea. Now, I remember when we came before, there were various devices sitting in racks downstairs waiting to be installed. I think there were airco units, there were boilers, there were generators. I think you likened the boiler to about the size of a Fiat 500 car, if my memory serves me right.
You got a good memory. There's 4 of those. There's four Fiat 500s now, and they're all installed, and they're slowly beginning to work.
Right. So we're walking along the corridor in one of the wards. The noise you can hear is our boots on the temporary covering on the flooring to protect it from various spillages, drops and dents, we hope. And
no, it's normally nails and screws. You drop a screw on this floor and you tread on it and you ruin a huge patch of it. And so that's the thing they're trying to keep off it.
Right, fair enough. So we're going through the green door at the end, back to the stairway. So we must be now right down in the lower part of the building because there isn't another staircase down. So where are we?
We're on the ground floor in the FM end of the building, which is that part of the building is the one that's closest to a spire.
Right, okay. So this is where all the works of the buildings are taking place and installed. And I remember seeing this 6 months, 7 months ago, and just going into the IT room now, which was just a shell before. So now we've got all the IT 19-inch racks. I remember those from my working career, waiting to have all the equipment installed. A couple of rows of those, a little workbench in the corner, and looks like a air conditioning unit or power distribution unit of some kind.
Yeah, there are 2 backup air conditioning units in this room. So if the main building system goes down, there's 2 backups. And as you can feel, as you walked in, it was a bit cooler in here.
Yeah, very much so. Lots of structured wiring trays above our head to take all the various cables off to different parts of the building, and no kit in these cabinets yet.
Fibre optics are in from the outside world, and this Friday and Monday they start putting some servers in, which means that all the other boxes will start going in towards the end of next week.
Right, okay. So this is amazing, because I have a computer industry background. When you look at the relative small size of these cabinets in this room, for a building of this size and for the complexity of what this kit's going to be controlling, that's quite amazing.
Well, it's not just for this building. The whole hospital computer systems we run from these.
Right.
So where you have the IT people at the moment, all their kit will move down here unless they're buying new kit. But basically, the whole hospital will be run from here.
Wow, that is something. I can remember when the computer hall I used to work in was the size of a football pitch back in the 80s, and that's probably the processing power there is probably nothing like what's available here. And this must be power here, is it, or is this also air conditioning?
That's cooling again.
Right. Okay. So well provided for. If there is a major system failure, the IT kit can be looked after and kept cool, which is all important. Right, so we're just walking further into this building. Now, this is generally at the moment not as finished as the other wards, or other floors, I should say. Lots of cables and things hanging from ceilings, and more panels from the ceiling are missing, and bits of trunking and air conditioning hanging out. So what are we heading towards now, Richard?
We're going back to the atrium, the centre of the building.
Right, okay, so we're just...
We're passing, this is This is where the wheelie bins are stored.
Right.
And we've passed where the deliveries are taken, and we've passed where clean linen is brought in the middle of the night.
Right, okay. Right, okay. So this is all going to be busy overnight. Things coming and going.
We're now into public toilets, public changing rooms, child changing facilities, what have you. And as you can see, they're just putting in the white goods now.
Right, okay, good stuff. Right, okay, so we're now on the ground floor, looking up at the stairwell, and I'm looking for a door, which is here somewhere. The main entrance to this building. I can see it for the first time. Double doors and the sort of right angle as you come in.
That's right. You have to have a lobby for smoke purposes, so that's the lobby. We're standing. This is the coffee shop.
Yep. All right. Okay. So that's going to be quite small, isn't it? It's only really going to have a counter, I would have thought.
Yes, counter and the stalls, and there's another retail unit over there. And the thought is at the moment that's going to have tables and chairs in it for people to sit in if they're having coffee. And also, if they're sitting there, they can see the children playing in the activity centre just around the corner.
Right, okay, that makes sense, yeah, because mums and dads and carers like to keep an eye on their little ones, and quite rightly so. So, nice big entrance lobby, and that's going to, as I said earlier, open out close to the car park. Yeah, we're going to step outside, step over the threshold of the doors, out onto the concrete apron outside and the footpath, and we're now standing outside looking up. We've got a glass canopy over our heads to protect you when you're at the door or coming out of the door. And we've got all the panels on which I think you said to me are gold, and what was the other colour?
No, there's only one colour. The planner insisted there was only one colour. Originally we wanted two shades of gold, as it were, but the planner said no, got to be one.
Right, so these are all gold panels and the lovely black brickwork of individually chosen bricks, which doesn't sound attractive when you describe it like that, but actually when you get up close and look at it, it's actually a very nice brickwork indeed, a very nice sort of mixture of what look like glazed bricks and non-glazed bricks, so it adds a texture to the surface.
Yeah, I think it looks better away from the building when you can see the whole wall, and you can, when you get close to it, you don't quite see the same patterns as you do standing away from it.
Yeah.
But everyone talks highly of it.
Yeah, so we're on the footpath, which I guess is going to lead to the crossing across to the car park, is that right?
We're on a footpath that's going to run in front of the building and also be on the road as well, because behind us we've got the hoarding.
Yep.
And the hoarding's going to disappear, so this will be basically straight onto the road. There'll be various surfaces and level changes, but basically it'll go straight onto the road.
Right.
And about where we are here are going to be the bollards and various bits and pieces like cycle racks and what have you.
So we're just now walking along the side of the building from the main entrance towards the back, which is the FM side. Just across the hoarding to our right is the road that goes through the hospital and the patient and visitor car park, as we know it at the moment. So now this is a side you can't really see from the road at the moment because the hoardings obscure it. There's lots of activity here, empty cable drums from all the cable and stuff that's been put in the building, and various stacks of materials waiting to be used, and some frames there as well, not sure what those are, but we're heading towards the back where I guess the generators are.
There are indeed. This is the lorry delivery yard, shall we call it. So the lorries come in here and then they come out this footpath into those double doors, and on the left hand side in that room there's going to be set up to accept deliveries for this place.
Right, okay, fine. Okay, and that's got this is the canopy I was talking about over the top of everything that wasn't there last time, but is well and truly up there now, covering over the delivery area. So, okay, and there's some cabling and stuff going across from the generators that I'm guessing at the moment.
It is indeed, and now we're standing against these generators, which are quite large, to say the least.
Yeah.
One generator will power this building, And the thought is, we have 2 of them, and we also have 2 transformers. So electricity-wise, we're doing okay. So I suspect what we'll do in the end is wire these transformers up to the hospital, so if another building goes down, we can pinch some power from these generators to run it. It's very unlikely it'll happen, but we've got this spare capacity, so we might as well use it for the hospital.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you say they're large, they're about the size of a shipping container, aren't they? I'm guessing. The sort of thing you see on the back of those huge cargo ships coming into the docks around the UK.
They're bigger than those, but they're 30-foot containers. These are 40-foot. So you think of the container you see in the back of a lorry and add 10 foot to it.
Right, or 3 metres in new money, something like that anyway.
Yeah, our age it's 10 foot, but it's 3 metres for the others.
Okay, great.
We should walk up the new road, shouldn't we?
I think we probably should, shouldn't we? So, can we get out? No, it's padlocked shut, as it should be. So,
We'll walk up this way.
right, so there's a new road, as we mentioned earlier, that links the patient visitor car park and outpatients, which goes up by the Aspire building, which recently opened, replacing the old one, which was always a bit of a nightmare because it had a bit of a pinch point halfway up where only one vehicle could pass at a time, and not everybody was that good at giving way. So now I'm going off-road, as they say. I've got to keep my balance, holding the recorder and going up this slope, which I don't know I'm going to do, but anyway, we'll see.
Right.
Yep, I'm just trying to get traction on one foot. I've made it. Okay, so we're now back up onto the area that will be the children's gardens here at the back.
The bit we're in is there's 2 sort of areas in the garden. We're in the meadow area, which is basically a meadow with cut grass footpaths through it. And on the other side of the fence will be the formal gardens with the basketball rings and the furniture.
Right, okay, thank you very much. So I'm looking up the hill towards outpatients. I'm looking to my right to Aspire. On my left is our new patient ward block. Looking fantastic. It's many of us, as I've said before, never thought this day would come, and it's now just a tantalising 4 months or so away from actually becoming reality here at the RNOH, which is tremendous. And we're also looking at an older building, the Graham Hill unit, that was opened in 1979 in memory of the late British racing driver Graham Hill, and part funded by the friends of the RNOH at the time, and also the British Motor Racing Drivers Association, I believe. Right, so we're walking on a little bit further through the various stacks of materials and plant machinery that's here in the compound towards the exit or the turnstile.
We're in the builder's yard now.
Yep.
We're in the yard surrounded by skips and piles of pipes and plasterboard and machinery. And it's slowly getting smaller and smaller as we need the space for the garden and space for other finishing works to be completed.
Yeah. Fantastic. So you mentioned, I know when I spoke to you in November on the brickwork, which we're seeing from a distance now, that there were holes deliberately left in there for wildlife. Has anything bothered to nest in there this spring?
I don't think so. The bird holes, the bird nest holes you can see if you look for them, and there's no evidence of anything being used at the moment, probably because it's a noisy building site. But the roof's finished we got crushed brick on the roof, you remember?
No, it didn't go up there at the time.
Well, the roof's got crushed brick on it. It's called a brown roof, and it's there for insects. So local insects can fly along, and they get, because it's bricks, there's lots of crevices and hidey holes, and they go in the hidey holes and live there over the winter and what have you, and they build their nests, and which has started. Then the birds come along and eat the insects, and the birds deposit seeds up there.
Yeah.
And these are local seeds because they're local birds.
Yep.
And so it'll end up having local plants on the roof. And that started already. There's probably about 17 or 18 16-inch plants there on Friday growing already.
Great. And I can see as we speak about that, Mr. Magpie is perched on the rail up the top there inspecting it all. So he's obviously a quick converter to
And his
two
wife.
magpies, Mr. and Mrs. Magpie probably. It's one for sorrow, two for joy, I think, so that's a good sign. And they've obviously been inspecting what Richard's just been describing about the brown roof, so good to know that there's some conservation going on up there as well, which is always important these days. Right, well, where now?
We can have a look at the new road.
Yeah.
How we talk about a new road, I don't know, but
No.
I'm sure you'll know where to talk about new roads.
Well, a new road, I mean, yes, what can you say about it? It's a road, but it's much needed because it gives access from our main core road that goes through the hospital up to outpatients, up to children's outpatients, and also the pre-admissions unit, which is at the top of the slope and just being let out here, manoeuvre around. So it's for the first time it's a double carriageways. You can take traffic either way, which is very important, and it's got a proper footpath. So we need to make sure that people are safe. So I think, are we going to take a walk up there?
Walk up the hill.
We're going to walk up the hill by the side of the Aspire Centre, on the pavement, of course, so we don't get run over. It's still quite a steep hill, though, Richard. We could almost do with a winch to get people up there, I think.
Well, it's not as steep as the other one, but because it is a little steep, we've got a little taxi service running, which so people with wheelchairs or disabled can park down the bottom, and there's a little bus to bring them up to the top.
And of course there's also the patient buggy service run by our volunteers who move people around the site all the time as well, which has been running since July 2016 and is very popular and very successful for the reasons we've just talked about: the hill, the distances, and the fact that people come to site, don't always know where they're going or where they need to be, and our wonderful buggy drivers are experts at that and very accommodating as well. Yeah. So we've now walked up the hill to the top of the new road. I can see the entrances to all the various departments, outpatient departments up here, and looking across now to the back of our new patient ward block.
Yeah, we're standing on top of the basement of Aspire. So believe it or not, the Aspire building behind us, this basement's underneath us where their substation is, and that is why it's the road is shaped like it is. And as you quite rightly see, you can see the finished back of the building, and the magpie sitting on the top still.
Yeah, he's just decided to take a flight across the work site here, and he's heading towards Aspire. Perhaps it's afternoon tea time, who knows, maybe. But good to see, and you get a really good view here because you're quite high up relatively, so you got right across the back of the building. And when the gardens are all finished and all the gardens are actually all fitted out, it's going to look lovely. It's going to be a really nice vista, this actually.
And you've just noticed something, the blackbirds are arriving as well now.
Yeah, they're on top of one of the site huts. That looks again like a Mr. and Mrs. Blackbird combination, so that looks nice, and that will hopefully bring in more wildlife and start to sort of reclaim the area for what it should be.
Yeah, we better go find out where their nest is, because once we have nesting birds and there's a nest, a new set of rules kick in about what we can do and not do on building sites. So I'm going to have a little walk around later to see if I can find out where their nest is.
Fair enough. Right, well, I think that probably concludes our tour.
Good stuff.
Thank you, Richard, once again.
Thank you for coming. That's probably the last trip, isn't it?
I think it probably is. Richard's been very kind, as I said earlier, and given me, this is his third visit and tour of the site, from when it was a shell, literally, of a building, to when it was being partially completed inside, to now virtually complete. Thank you, Richard. It's very much appreciated. You've given us all this time and your insight and knowledge, which is exceptional, into this milestone for the RNOH.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Keith.
Thank you, Richard, and we'll speak soon, hopefully when it's open.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really fascinating insight into the workings of the new hospital, and very, very exciting because it's not far away now. Now, don't forget you can catch up with this and other previous editions of Brockley News by logging onto our website at radiobrockley.org, and then you can follow the links to our YouTube site from there. And if there's anything else happening in and around the hospital that you want to find out more about, you can call us here on extension 5483 or on 0208 954 6591, as well as all the various social media sites, of course, and we'll try and cover it on future editions of Brockley News and Brockley News Extra. Stay tuned to Radio Brockley across the week for more information about the events and services available in a hospital, along with the widest range of music you'll ever want to hear to suit all tastes. You can now catch up with Brockley News Extra on Mondays to Fridays at midday, and also Monday evenings at 8 o'clock as well, and Brockley News every Sunday for half an hour just before bedside bingo. From me, Alan Joyce. Goodbye.